These secret words that will change how you see your past. Nietzsche, let me start with a question. What if you could look back on your past, every painful moment, every regret, every mistake, and embrace it all? Not just as necessary, but as something beautiful. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? After all, we're taught to divide our past into two categories: the good moments we cherish and the bad moments we wish we could erase. But what if this way of thinking is holding us back, chaining us to a life of resentment and regret? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most profound and misunderstood philosophers, offers us a radical alternative. He called it Amor Fati, or the love of fate, and these two words, simple yet revolutionary, could change the way you see your past, your present, and even your future. Before we go deeper, let me set the stage. Think about your own life for a moment. How often do you find yourself revisiting the past, replaying moments of failure or heartbreak? Maybe it's that job you didn't get, the relationship that fell apart, or the opportunity you let slip through your fingers. We all have those moments that haunt us, that make us think, if only I had done things differently. Regret is a universal human experience. But here's the thing, regret is also a trap. It locks you in a battle with something you can't change, and the more you fight it, the more power it has over you. Nietzsche's concept of Amor Fati offers a way out of this trap. At its core, Amor Fati is the idea that we should not just accept our fate, but embrace it, every part of it. The good, the bad, the painful, the joyful. Nietzsche believed that everything in life, no matter how difficult or tragic, contributes to the person you are today. And if you reject parts of your past, you're rejecting yourself. So, instead of wishing your past were different, Nietzsche challenges us to say, yes, this is my life. I wouldn't change a thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can we possibly love the parts of our past that caused us pain? Isn't that just denying reality? Not at all. Amor Fati isn't about pretending that bad things are good or ignoring the pain you've experienced. It's about seeing the bigger picture. Nietzsche urges us to look at life as an artist looks at a painting in progress. When you're up close, all you see are random brushstrokes, some dark, some bright, some bright, some. But when you step back, you see how every stroke contributes to the masterpiece. The dark strokes give depth. The messy strokes add texture. Without them, the painting would be incomplete.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Here's a metaphor to think about. Imagine your life as a book. Every chapter, every page, every word is part of your story. But how often do we wish we could rip out the pages we don't like? The chapters where we failed, where we suffered, where we lost. Yet without those pages, the story would make no sense. The hero's journey would have no meaning. Amor Fati asks us to read our life story as it is, to see the beauty in its entirety, even the parts we wish we could rewrite. But let's go deeper. Why is this idea so powerful? Because it shifts your relationship with time. Most of us live in a state of tension between the past and the future. We regret what's behind us and fear what's ahead. But Amor Fati pulls you into the present. It reminds you that everything, every moment, every experience has brought you to where you are right now. And this moment, no matter how imperfect, is exactly where you're meant to be. Think about that for a second. What if you could stop fighting your past and start living fully in the present? How much lighter would your life feel? Here's the first challenge of Amor Fati. It requires radical acceptance. Not passive resignation, but active, conscious acceptance. It's not about saying, I guess this is just how things are. It's about saying, this is my life, and I choose to embrace all of it. That's a powerful shift. It turns you from a victim of your circumstances into the creator of your story. And when you embrace your past with love, something incredible happens. You stop being defined by it. the mistakes no longer haunt you. The regrets lose their sting, because you're no longer fighting against what was your building on it. So, let me leave you with a question: what would it feel like to embrace your past, not just the good parts, but the painful ones too? What if, instead of wishing things had been different, you could say, "I wouldn't change a thing"? In the next part, we'll explore how Amor Fati can help you face the present with courage and turn even life's greatest challenges into opportunities for growth. Turning pain into power, the courage to embrace the present. If Amor Fati teaches us to embrace the past, then its next challenge is even more radical. How do we apply this mindset to the present, especially when life feels unbearable? It's one thing to look back and find meaning in past struggles, but what about the struggles we're living through right now? What about the pain that still stings, the uncertainty that keeps us awake at night, the moments where life seems unfair, chaotic, or even meaningless? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes not just theoretical but transformative. He isn't asking us to passively endure hardship, he's asking us to actively embrace it, to see the chaos of the present not as an obstacle, but as raw material for growth. Let's start with the truth we often avoid: life is full of suffering. Nietzsche didn't shy away from this. In fact, he believed that suffering is an essential part of existence. But unlike many philosophies that view suffering as something to be eliminated or escaped, Nietzsche saw it as a necessary ingredient for greatness. He wrote, "To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." Think about that for a moment. What if, instead of running from pain, we could transform it into something meaningful? What if the very challenges we dread could become the foundation for our strength? Here's the mindset shift Nietzsche offers you: as pain isn't the enemy. Resistance to pain is. When we resist our struggles, when we try to numb them, avoid them, or wish them away, we give them power over us. But when we face them head on, we take that power back. Imagine your pain as a wildfire. If you try to suppress it, it burns hotter and spreads uncontrollably. But if you step into it with courage, it becomes a forge, a place where weakness is burned away and strength is created. This is the essence of Amor Fati: to not only accept life's difficulties, but to actively use them to transform yourself. But how do we do this in practice? How do we embrace the present when it feels overwhelming? Nietzsche's answer is deceptively simple. Start by reframing your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I create from this?" Every challenge, no matter how painful, carries with it an opportunity. The question is whether we're willing to look for it. Take a moment to reflect on a current struggle in your life. What lessons might it be teaching you? What strength or resilience might it be cultivating in you? When you approach life with this mindset, even the most difficult moments become meaningful. Here's an example. Imagine losing a job or facing rejection. At first, it feels like the end of the world. You might spiral into self-pity or anger, replaying the event over and over in your mind. But what if you approached it through the lens of Amor Fati? What if you saw this setback as an invitation to grow? Maybe it's pushing you to develop new skills, to pursue a path you were too afraid to take, or to reassess what truly matters to you. Suddenly, the loss isn't just a loss, it's a turning point. It's fuel for reinvention. And this applies not just to individual struggles, but to the larger challenges of life. Nietzsche believed that the greatest individuals, the ones who truly shape history, are those who don't shy away from adversity. Instead, they embrace it. They see life, with all its chaos and unpredictability, as a canvas on which to create something extraordinary. He wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." That chaos, the uncertainty, the fear, The pain isn't something to eliminate, it's something to harness. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. Embracing the present, especially when it's painful, requires enormous courage. It means letting go of the illusion of control. It means trusting that even the darkest moments are part of a larger story, a story that you have the power to shape. And here's the paradox: the more you embrace the present, the lighter it becomes. When you stop resisting, the weight of your struggles begins to lift. You realize that pain isn't something happening to you, it's something happening for you. So, here's a question to carry with you: what would it look like to stop resisting your current challenges and start embracing them? In the next part, we'll explore how Amor Fati can help us not just endure life's uncertainties, but embrace the future with open arms, turning fear into freedom. Embracing the unknown: how Amor Fati transforms fear into freedom. If Amor Fati asks us to embrace the past and meet the present with courage, its final challenge is perhaps the most profound: how do we face the future, the great unknown, with love rather than fear? The future is where our deepest anxieties live. It's where the what-ifs and the imagined catastrophes lurk. We fear the uncertain, the uncontrollable, the inevitable changes that await us. But Nietzsche believed that our relationship with the future could be transformed, and that by doing so, we could unlock a freedom and lightness that most of us never experience. Let's start with a truth we all face: no one knows what the future holds. This uncertainty terrifies us. We try to control it with plans, routines, and safety nets. We cling to comfort, hoping to shield ourselves from the chaos of life. But as Nietzsche reminds us, life is inherently unpredictable. Change is the only constant. And no matter how carefully we try to construct a fortress of stability, life will always find its way in. The question, then, is not how to avoid uncertainty, but how to embrace it. How do we stop fearing the unknown and start welcoming it as a vital part of existence? Nietzsche's answer lies in the idea of Amor Fati. To love your fate is to love all of it, not just the past and the present, but the future as well, with all its uncertainty and potential for both joy and suffering. Nietzsche challenges us to approach the future not as something to fear, but as an open horizon, a blank canvas waiting to be filled. He wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." Imagine that for a moment, wanting nothing to be different, not just accepting the future but loving it, no matter what it brings. This mindset requires a radical shift in how we think about control. Most of our fear of the future comes from our desire to control it. We want guarantees of success, of happiness, of security. But Nietzsche reminds us that this desire is a trap. The more we try to control life, the more we shrink from it. We avoid risks, cling to predictability, and trade possibilities for safety. But life isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be lived. And when you let go of control, you open yourself to the full spectrum of life's experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine the worst-case scenario for your future. The thing you fear most. Maybe it's failure, loss, or pain. Now ask yourself, what if this, too, could be part of the story that shapes me? What if this, too, could teach me something, make me stronger, or lead me to something unexpected and beautiful? This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending that bad things are good. It's about recognizing that even the worst moments have the potential to add depth and meaning to your life. When you embrace the future with Amor Fati, you stop seeing uncertainty as a threat and start seeing it as an adventure. But how do we cultivate this mindset in our daily lives? Nietzsche's philosophy isn't just an abstract ideal, it's a practice. One way to start is by confronting your fears head-on. Instead of avoiding uncertainty, lean into it. Take risks. Say yes to opportunities that scare you. Let go of the need for guarantees. Another way is to reframe your relationship with failure. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, see it as a stepping stone. Every failure teaches you, refines you, and brings you closer to your potential. Remember, the greatest stories are never the ones where everything goes perfectly. They're the ones where the hero faces challenges, falls, and rises again. And here's the paradox: the more you embrace the unknown, the less fear it holds. When you stop clinging to the illusion of control, you discover a freedom that's unlike anything else. Life becomes lighter, more fluid, more expansive. You realize that the future isn't something to be conquered, it's something to be danced with. And in that dance, you find a kind of joy that no amount of certainty could ever bring. So, let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped fearing the future and started embracing it with love? In the final part, we'll explore how Amor Fati enables us to transcend regret, fear, and even time itself, creating a life of profound meaning and ultimate freedom. Eternal freedom: how Amor Fati helps us transcend time and regret. We've explored how Amor Fati allows us to embrace the past, find courage in the present, and face the future with openness. But Nietzsche didn't stop there. His philosophy reaches towards something even greater, a way of living that completely transforms how we experience time itself. Imagine a life where regret doesn't exist, where fear of the future has no power over you, and where every moment feels like an act of creation. This is the ultimate promise of Amor Fati, a mindset so profound that it frees you from the chains of time and lets you live with a kind of eternal freedom. Let's start with one of Nietzsche's most provocative ideas, the concept of eternal recurrence. He asks us to imagine a scenario, one that is as terrifying as it is liberating. Picture this: what if you had to live your life over and over again, endlessly, with every single detail repeating exactly as it was? Every joy, every heartbreak, every failure, every success relived in infinite cycles for all eternity. Would this thought crush you, or would it inspire you to live differently? The idea of eternal recurrence isn't meant to be taken literally. It's a thought experiment, a challenge to examine your relationship with life. Nietzsche poses this question to force us to confront a difficult truth: are you living a life you would be willing to live again, endlessly? It's a question that cuts through the noise of our daily distractions and demands an honest answer. If the thought fills you with dread, it might be because you're living in a way that's disconnected from your values, running from your fears, or weighed down by regret. But here's the beauty of this idea: it's not too late to change. In fact, this very moment is an opportunity to start living a life you'd want to repeat eternally. This is where Amor Fati becomes the key to ultimate freedom. To love your fate, your past, present, and future, is to live a life without regret. When you embrace everything as necessary, as part of your unique story, regret loses its power. Those mistakes you wish you could erase, they become lessons. Those moments of pain you wish you could avoid, they become the foundation of your strength. And here's the paradox: when you stop wishing that things were different, you free yourself to fully experience life as it is. You stop being a prisoner of the past or a hostage of the future. Instead, you become fully present, fully alive. But there's more. Amor Fati doesn't just reconcile you with your past and future, it transforms how you experience the present. Most of us live as if time is slipping through our fingers, as if each moment is something to rush through on the way to the next. But Nietzsche invites us to see each moment as eternal. If this moment were to repeat endlessly, how would you live it? Would you rush through it, or would you savor it? Would you see it as mundane, or would you recognize it as a unique and irreplaceable piece of your story? This is the gift of Amor Fati. It teaches us to live with intensity, to wring every drop of meaning and beauty out of each moment. Of course, this isn't easy. To embrace your fate fully, to love it, is a practice, not a destination. It requires daily effort, a willingness to confront your fears, and a commitment to live authentically. But the rewards are extraordinary. When you live with Amor Fati, you stop being a spectator of your life and become its creator. You see every experience, no matter how difficult, as raw material for growth. You stop fearing the unknown and start embracing the infinite possibilities it holds. And in doing so, you transcend the limits of time itself. You live not as if life is something that happens to you, but as something you actively shape. So, let me leave you with one final question. If you had to live this life, exactly as it is, for all eternity, how would you approach each moment differently? This is Nietzsche's ultimate challenge and his ultimate gift. Because when you embrace Amor Fati, you're not just accepting your life, you're loving it. And in that love, you discover a freedom that is timeless, fearless, and truly infinite.